It is 2 in the morning. You are scrolling again. You are exhausted, dreading tomorrow, and wondering why you cannot just get your life together. You tell yourself that tomorrow you will wake up early. Tomorrow you will send that resume. Tomorrow you will start acting like an adult. But tomorrow comes and you do the exact same thing. Society looks at you and slaps a label on it. They call you lazy. They say you lack discipline. They might even say you have Peter Pan syndrome, a man who simply refuses to grow up. And because you hear it so often, you start to believe it. You internalize this immense guilt, carrying the weight of your own untapped potential like a boulder on your back. But I need you to listen to me very carefully right now. Drop the guilt. Stop beating yourself up for just a second. Because what you are experiencing is not a moral failing. It is not a flaw in your character. The reason you can sit and play video games for 8 hours straight but feel physically exhausted at the thought of paying a bill or folding your laundry is not because you are lazy. It is biology. Your brain's chemical reward system has been completely hijacked by the modern world. You are operating on a neurochemical deficit. Today, we are going to strip away the useless self-help advice. We are not going to talk about finding your passion or waking up at 5 in the morning. We are going to look under the hood of your brain, figure out exactly which chemicals are holding you hostage, and I am going to give you a science-backed protocol to rewire your mind. To understand why growing up feels so physically painful to you, we have to talk about the currency of your brain, which is dopamine. Most people think dopamine is just the pleasure chemical. They think it is what makes you feel happy when you eat a piece of cake or watch a funny video. That is a massive misunderstanding of human biology. Dopamine is not about pleasure, it is the molecule of motivation. It is the chemical of anticipation, pursuit, and drive. It is the evolutionary mechanism that makes a hungry wolf hunt in the freezing cold for days. And it is what is actually supposed to make you want to build a career, find a partner, and secure your future. Every single human being has what neuroscientists call a dopamine baseline. Think of it like the natural water level in a swimming pool. When you do something challenging but genuinely rewarding, like finishing a really hard physical workout, or completing a complex project that took you a few hours, you get a healthy spike in dopamine. Your brain rewards your effort. And then, over the next few hours, that dopamine gently settles back down to your normal baseline. You feel good, you feel satisfied, and you have enough mental energy to tackle whatever comes next in your day. But you and I live in a completely unnatural world. We are surrounded by cheap, unearned dopamine every single minute of the day. High-speed internet, endless short-form videos, hyper-stimulating video games, and adult entertainment are all engineered to hijack this exact system. These things do not just give you a natural spike. They flood your brain with massive, unnatural tsunamis of dopamine. You are sitting in your bedroom chair, moving absolutely nothing but your thumbs, but your brain is receiving the chemical reward equivalent to a conquering emperor who just won a major war. Here is the dark side of neuroscience that nobody warns you about when you download these apps. For every unnatural peak, there is a devastating crash. The brain constantly seeks balance, a biological state called homeostasis. When you artificially spike your dopamine levels to the absolute roof with 3 hours of mindless scrolling and competitive gaming, your brain panics. It compensates by drastically dropping your dopamine baseline. It literally downregulates your dopamine receptors to protect itself from the flood. You do not just return to normal when you put the phone down. You drop into a massive deficit. You go into a state of severe dopamine bankruptcy. And when your baseline is crushed into the floor, what exactly happens to your daily behavior? Everything that is not highly stimulating suddenly feels agonizing. Taking out the trash, answering an email from your boss, writing a resume, or paying a bill, These regular adult tasks do not provide enough stimulation to even register on your depleted dopamine radar. When your baseline is that low, doing the dishes or folding laundry literally feels like physical torture. Your brain is screaming at you to stop because it is starved for its normal fuel, and it desperately wants you to go back to the glowing screen to get a quick chemical hit. You are not avoiding adult responsibilities because you are a stubborn child. You are avoiding them because, chemically, your brain lacks the required fuel to initiate the effort. You are asking a car with a completely empty gas tank to drive up a steep mountain, and then you are getting angry at the car when it will not move an inch. You have been punishing yourself for a biological reality. It is not a lack of morals, it is a severe lack of neurochemicals. But the rabbit hole goes much deeper than just your baseline. When you remain in this state of severe dopamine bankruptcy, for months or even years, it actually alters the physical dominance of different regions inside your brain. It changes who is driving the car. Right behind your forehead sits the prefrontal cortex. This is the adult in the room. It is the most evolved part of the human brain. It is responsible for long-term planning, logical thinking, delayed gratification, and taking responsibility. It is the exact part of your brain that knows you need to build a career, invest your money, and become a reliable man. But deep inside your brain, near the base, is a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This is your primitive emotional center. It does not care about your 5-year plan. It does not care about your future or your legacy. It only cares about two basic things: seeking immediate comfort and avoiding immediate pain. It is, for all intents and purposes, the terrified child inside your head. Now, here's the terrifying biological truth that connects your daily habits to your massive life failures. The prefrontal cortex, the adult part of your mind, requires a massive amount of metabolic energy and a healthy dopamine baseline to function properly. It is a highly demanding engine. When your dopamine is constantly drained by cheap digital pleasure, your prefrontal cortex literally powers down to save energy. It goes offline. And when the adult leaves the room, guess who takes the steering wheel? The amygdala. Your brain physically shifts into survival mode. And to the primitive amygdala, any form of psychological stress is registered as a physical, life-threatening danger. The fear of failure, the pressure of a deadline, the anxiety of a new relationship, or the heavy weight of adult expectations, all of these trigger the exact same alarm bells in your brain as a predator chasing you through the woods. So, what does the amygdala do when it feels threatened? It forces you to escape. It screams at you, "This is uncomfortable. We need to get away right now." It demands that you find a safe place and do something predictable and soothing. Think about the last time you sat down to do something important. Maybe it was updating your resume. You opened the document, you stared at the blank page for about 30 seconds, and suddenly, a wave of discomfort washed over your entire body. Your chest might have felt tight. Your brain immediately whispered, "Let us just check our phone for 5 minutes. We will start right after that." That was not your rational inner voice. That was your amygdala sensing the friction of a difficult task and pulling the fire alarm. And because your prefrontal cortex was starved of dopamine, it did not have the strength to say no. It could not override the panic. It simply let the child take over. This happens 10 times a day, 7 days a week. And before you know it, an entire decade has slipped through your fingers. Society looks at that lost decade and calls it a character flaw. But now you know the truth. It is a mechanical failure in your biological hardware, triggered by the environment you put yourself in. This right here is the exact biological mechanism behind the man-child syndrome. When you procrastinate on your life, when you ignore your mounting bills, when you run away from commitment, you are not just being lazy or stubborn. You are experiencing a literal amygdala hijack. You retreat to your comfort zone. You open up a video game for 6 hours. You numb yourself with a glowing screen because your primitive brain is frantically trying to soothe the crushing anxiety of the real world. You have not lost your potential. You are not stupid. You have just lost access to your prefrontal cortex. Your brain is trapped in a neurochemical loop where it believes avoiding responsibility is the only way to survive the day. You are quite literally trapped in the mind of a scared child, piloting the body of a grown man, entirely because your daily habits have starved the adult part of your brain of the fuel it needs to function. You are not refusing to grow up. Your brain is just physically locked out of the control room. So, how do we fix this broken system? If relying on willpower and watching motivational videos are complete lies, what is the actual truth? The truth is a biological concept called neuroplasticity. Your brain has the physical ability to heal and rewire itself, but you cannot simply think your way out of a chemical deficit. You have to act your way out. You have to force your prefrontal cortex back online and actively restore your dopamine baseline. I am not going to tell you to just make your bed or clean your room. We are going to use a highly specific 7-day Neuro-Reset Protocol. We are going to biohack your discipline. Let us start with days 1 through 3. This phase is called the dopamine fast and the embrace of boredom. For the next 72 hours, you're going to aggressively cut out the cheap chemical hits. That means absolutely no short-form videos, no adult entertainment, and no hyper-stimulating video games. But here is the secret neurobiological ingredient that almost everyone misses. You must completely embrace silence. When you do your daily chores, when you wash the dishes, when you fold your laundry for 30 minutes, or when you drive to work for an hour, you will do it with zero background noise. No music, no podcasts, no audiobooks, and no videos playing in the background. Why is this so critical? Because right now, your brain requires constant, high-level stimulation just to tolerate baseline reality. By forcing yourself to sit in silence, you are actively starving the amygdala of its cheap digital input. It is going to be incredibly uncomfortable. You will feel restless. Your skin might crawl, and your brain will beg you to reach for your phone. But you must understand that this specific discomfort is the exact physical sensation of your dopamine receptors healing. You are lowering the water level in the pool so that normal things can feel rewarding again. Then we move to days 4 through 7. This is the phase of microdosing pain. Now that your baseline is slowly starting to recover, we need to intentionally wake up the prefrontal cortex. We do this by microdosing friction. Remember, your amygdala is terrified of big, overwhelming tasks. If you tell yourself you're going to work on your business for 4 hours, your brain will trigger a panic response and force you to quit. So we bypass the amygdala entirely. Pick the single most important adult responsibility you have been avoiding. Maybe it is organizing your financial budget or writing that project proposal. You are not going to finish it. You are going to set a timer for exactly 10 minutes. You will tell your brain, out loud if you have to, we are only doing this for 10 minutes and then we have full permission to stop. This drastic reduction in time completely lowers the perceived threat. Your amygdala stays perfectly calm, but by simply initiating the action for 600 seconds, you are forcing blood flow and glucose directly back into your prefrontal cortex. You prove to your nervous system that you can tolerate the physical friction of reality. And here's the beautiful part about human psychology. 9 times out of 10, once that 10-minute timer finally goes off, you will simply keep going. You will keep working because you will realize the hardest part was not the task itself. The hardest part was simply crossing the chemical threshold of starting. You are rebuilding your brain 1 minute at a time. This protocol that we just talked about is simple, but it is absolutely not easy. Your brain is going to fight you every single step of the way. It will beg for the cheap comfort it is used to. It will tell you that 10 minutes of work is too much. But I want you to project yourself 10 years into the future right now. Imagine waking up in the exact same bed, scrolling the exact same applications, hiding from the exact same adult responsibilities. Imagine being a 40-year-old man with the emotional regulation and the stress tolerance of a 15-year-old boy. That is not just sad. That is a silent, agonizing tragedy. Growing up taking responsibility and stepping into the arena of adult life is hard. It has massive friction. It carries the very real risk of failure. But staying in your childhood bedroom, hiding from the world while your biological potential slowly rots away, is infinitely harder. Society has lied to you by making you think that responsibility is a prison that takes away your freedom. The neurobiological truth is that responsibility is the only thing that gives a man's life actual weight and meaning. It is the psychological armor that protects you from a life of crushing regret. You now know the science. You know that you are not just a lazy person. You are chemically compromised. And more importantly, you have the exact protocol to fix it. The only question left for you to answer today is this: are you going to keep using your neurochemistry as an excuse to stay a child? Or are you finally going to take back the wheel? Start the reset today. Reclaim your brain. I will see you on the other side.